And good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome. I am Richard the Razor Ewing, and I'm with my co-host Matt, none the wiser wise, and this is GameFace. And Matt, we do this on Mondays, and before we start, you know me, I got to go to the questions.
Hit it.
If you're trying to figure out how to get a recipe for corned beef hash, you are on the wrong podcast. And if you're trying to figure out how to get advice on how to fix your broken March Madness bracket, you're on the wrong podcast. However, if you're trying to get insight into professional sports in the San Francisco Bay Area, you just put your game face on. And if you're trying to get an in-depth analysis into sports on a national level, once again, you put your game face on. As I said before, I'm Richard the Razor Ewing. Welcome to Game Face. We're glad you're here with us, and we have a special evening. We have the great Mike Deshaun, a former co-host of this show, 1981 Super Bowl champion, and should be in the Hall of Fame, really, in my opinion. But spent 25 years, covering sports in the San Francisco Bay Area and covered the Warriors for close to 6 years. Mike, you said you come back on a guest with us, and I'm so glad you did it. Nice to have you, man.
Well, it's good to be back. Kind of missed talking sports, especially with the Razor. And Matt, of course, been listening. You've been doing a great job. So Matt just came from baseball practice. We were discussing the Little League level. So let's talk a little pro sports here. How about that?
I'm ready to do it. There's pro sports is going on. We got a lot going on with the Warriors. Just lost a back-to-back last night to Memphis. They're going to play the 76ers coming up. Spring training 10 days away until baseball kicks off. I'm more than ready to go. And then we got a lot of football news. There's tons running around in the sports world to chit chat about. And me personally, I couldn't be more excited to be doing it with Mike Schumann, who I've grown up watching talk and give his insight on sports. And I'm so happy. So Mike, thanks for being here with us.
Well, thank you, Matt. And but in the future, when you say to somebody who's been doing sports like myself, I grew up watching you. That means I'm really old. So as much as you love the compliment, I've been it's kind of like when I was playing football. No, actually, I was covering the 49ers, and Terry Jackson, his dad was Willie Jackson, who I played against at the University of Florida. So one day I'm talking to Terry, and I go, "Didn't your dad go to Florida?" He goes, "Yeah, you played against him." I said, "Oh, man." So same kind of thing if you say that. But thank you so much. It's good to be with you.
Well, first of all, guys, we're going to dive right in. We're not even going to pull out no stops. We're going to dive right into the juicy stuff. From now on, I don't want anyone to talk to me about the possibility of Deshaun Watson becoming a 49er. That's just not going to happen. I never thought it would happen. But over the last couple of weeks, now it's just been solidified. Okay. Matt and I were going back and forth on this, and he said it's not looking good for him. I told him, hey, look, man, when the second girl came forward, that's when it wasn't looking good for him. Right now, it's just god awful for him. Okay.
Well, I think it's up to 10 women, and I don't think any NFL team wants to touch him. Well, no pun intended. Right now. So, the guy went from one of the hottest, quarterbacks on the market to, wow, I'd love to have him on my team, but we have to wait till this plays out in court. You can't take that chance with a guy like that. So I think, and the Texans, they've just gotten so bad. And now they're kind of stuck with this on, outside of their kind of playing field. So just tough news. And then when they brought in Joe Flacco, the 49ers, I thought, if they sign Flacco, they're going to keep Garoppolo because they need a good solid veteran backup for them. So, but Deshaun, it's just like, boy, if this is true, he picked no time's good for this kind of thing. But boy, right now, I tell you what, I don't know what to think about it. What about you guys?
And when it rains, it pours.
Yeah,
we were 4 weeks ago. We were talking about this guy being the most coveted player in the NFL free agent period that we're having right now because he wanted to get traded. I mean, he wanted out. And everybody, we were talking about it, Richard. I was kind of drooling over the thought of getting Deshaun Watson. And now this does not look good for him. There are not going to be a lot of prospects because you don't want to touch them because of all the liability. And these are all civil cases. This is nothing criminal yet. It's just not looking good. But I do have a question for you guys. What do you say? We pay some bills. What's the over under that Deshaun Watson, that more accusers may come forward? I would be interested to see on betonline.ag what that line would be if there would be any more accusers for Deshaun Watson, even though it's not looking really good for him as it is. But if there was a line out there for that, you would find it at betonline.ag. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all sports actions. We are in March Madness. It is right here. It is upon us. And BetOnline has you covered for all the sports, scores, and odds. It's the best way to place your bets, and it's free to sign up. Who doesn't love free? So I encourage you, head over to the website betonline.ag and use your mobile device to sign in today and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Again, that's BetOnline, your sports book experts.
Take the over.
Take the over. Every day it goes up, right?
Yeah,
so it's not looking good. Thank you. Shoot, that's why you're a genius, man.
Yeah.
Take the over.
I think you take the over too, but this is the thing. One of the reasons why I don't put together brackets. I mean, I put one together this year for the first time since about 1983 or whatever. And what happened? First round, bracket broken. Okay, it's okay. That's it. I learned my lesson. Richard, don't ever put another bracket together in your life. You're just terrible at it. That's all there is to it. So
Ohio State did not help anyone out. In football, they may be the Ohio State Buckeyes, but in basketball, they're still Ohio State Buckeyes. They could that was not good.
Well, Illinois and Ohio State, both were 1 seeds, I think, if I'm not mistaken. This is the first year I didn't do a pool in a long time. So when I saw those 2 first-round games, and who was it? Oral Roberts, wasn't it? And then they're in the Sweet 16.
I tell you something, Shu, when I was younger, I was with a friend of mine, and we were playing at one of the local schools, and it was a local small college. I can't even remember the name of it now, so long ago. But the interesting thing is, and this guy was a baller. He could play. Okay, he obviously played better than me, and he could shoot from who knows where. But he was talking about some of the schools he was trying to trial for, and he actually brought up Oral Roberts at the time. Wow. And I thought, Oral Roberts, what is that? Who is that? And now all of a sudden it comes up again. It just rekindled all that. And it made me think, man, okay, tell me honestly, who in Vegas picked that? Who?
Well, that's the beauty of March Madness. Basketball is one of those sports where you can have 5 guys from any team and any conference. Some guy who couldn't get into Duke or North Carolina went to Oral Roberts. He can still play ball, but, he just couldn't get in academically. So maybe went to junior college route. That's what I love about the tournament. What was it for the Florida Gulf Coast that got in a couple of years ago, made the great run? You always have that one team that, the 2 knocks off the 15 or the 15 knocks off the 2 or, 5 knocks off 11. So I think that's the beauty of this tournament, which makes it so exciting. And if you just want to watch college basketball, unfortunately, this is the time to do it because you got games all day and night. So it's great.
This was the time of year when I would conveniently come down with an illness that would last me a week or 2 in high school so that I could stay home and watch March Madness. And Shu, mistake me if I'm wrong. You're a Seminole, right? You went to Florida State. Hey, yeah. They beat Colorado today. So go ahead.
They're in the Sweet 16 then, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So
it's interesting that, with the exception of Colorado, the Pac-12 showed up. I couldn't believe it. They actually represented. I was like, what? Matter of fact, when I did my bracket, I didn't pick probably anybody for the Pac-12 because we all know every year the Pac-12, they basically get their what handed to them, and that's the end of it. Usually go out in the first round. So, but yeah, they actually are well represented in the Sweet 16 this year.
And shout out your girl Tara Vanderveer from Stanford, who got out of the first round and looked dominant doing it. Again, the competition didn't look too stiff in that game, but I watched a little bit of it. You're right, Richard. I know why you're in love with Tara Vanderveer. I mean, Stanford all the way in the women's for sure.
Well, they're the number 1 seed, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, they are.
I read today they hit 19 threes or something in that game. It was just insane, So, which you don't see in a women's game as much as you do as a men. So, no, huge fan of Tara's. I'd love to see her win one more before she retires. So, maybe this will be the year.
Yeah, that would be great. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at some free agency news? We were talking about this before the show started. The Niners made, in my opinion, some pretty smart moves. Me and you were talking about it. He's saying that he would not have given Williams that $20 million that he signed for.
The Trent Williams deal?
Yeah.
I don't mind it for a couple of years because I think his body will break down at that point. He's 33, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Right. So, and then I think it's pretty backloaded. It doesn't count much towards the cap this year, but and left tackle's a premium. He knew going out on the market. But to me, the more key signing was Alex Mack from the Atlanta Falcons to play center. That's the position that's really just been in and out for them. You need that quarterback on the offensive line. So I think that's the best signing they had. I'm looking at it right here. They might have had the best offseason of any team in the NFL. Bringing their own players back, Jason Barrett, Dan Brunskill, Trent, Juszczyk, Emmanuel, all their safeties, Mosley, Jaquiski Tart. They brought in the safety, Tavon Wilson from the Colts, who Richard likes a lot. So
big pickup.
I don't pay a fullback that much money. I don't pay Trent Williams that much money. But the Niners also know the salary cap is going to jump up to about $250 here in the next couple of years. So they can afford all this. And that's why you're seeing a lot of players sign one-year contracts, hoping to have another great year and then make that big bank next year when the salary cap goes back up.
Absolutely. And not to mention, in my opinion, John Lynch and more John Lynch than Shanahan. But I mean, this is year 5. This is the year that the expectations were really, really high that they were going to have put together a team. Now they peaked a couple years early. Shu hit it on the head. They've had inconsistent center play the last 2 years with all the injuries. I think John Lynch did a phenomenal job at shoring up that defensive backfield, getting the DB, signing the ones that you needed to sign, let the ones go that you need to go. You're right with that signing today. I was going to bring it up for Tavon Wilson. Again, another piece in the secondary. So I am really, really excited what the Niners do. And now I could kind of rest a little easy with free agency, and I could really, really look forward to see what they're going to do in the draft. And I'm really excited about that to see, because now they could go a couple different ways. They could do a number of different things. But I would really, really like to see them shore up the quarterback position for the future. I think this would be the good draft to do it.
Yeah, they only have about $8 million left on the salary cap for the draft. And when they brought in Flacco, I thought that's what they need, a veteran quarterback if Garoppolo go down again, because I think Deshaun Watson, if that was on the burner, it's not now, Plus, Kyle's ego is so big. I don't know if he could have handled Deshaun Watson, kind of taken all his attention away at that quarterback position. So, but I think you either get somebody in the draft, like you said, and then some veteran quarterback to back Jimmy up if he gets hurt again, because they've got too much talent. And Richard mentioned it. They're like the Warriors. Their run back to the Super Bowl is only about a 2-year window here, and then they're going to have to blow this thing up again because they don't have any money to pay Fred Warner, best linebacker in football. They don't need to pay him this year. I think he's making $3.8, but next year they're going to have to pay some bank, and I think they're counting on the salary cap going up so they can afford to keep him.
But on the other end of the spectrum, you look at the fact that, because you were saying, Shu, that the payment to Williams was a little much, and I get that, but it's kind of back to what I was saying before, and that is this: if they decided, and Matt probably heard me say this too on the other shows we've done. If they decided, to keep Jimmy Garoppolo, then that means they had to do something with that offensive line. Because if you don't, now what do you got? You got a rematch of what happened last season with Nicky Mullins running all over the place and getting torn apart. So they decided they were going to keep him. So if you do, you got to do something with that offensive line. Otherwise, you switch and you go with Deshaun Watson, and if you don't have an offensive line, he's mobile. But we all know, hey, that didn't come to fruition, because the Deshaun thing wasn't going to happen, because Houston's not going to let him go right away. At least that's what they've been telling everybody. And then if they did, you're talking about a reshuffle, of what the game plan is going to be. And that's something you just don't do, this far into the offseason, You do that in the beginning of the season when you say, look, this is our game plan for next season. And they've already said, hey, Garoppolo's the guy. So if he's the guy, yeah, 20 million might be. I'm with you, Shu. 20 million is a little much. I probably would have brought it down to maybe 17. But you got to get that piece to make the rest of the cogs, work in conjunction. And he was the piece.
Well, Kittle, Garoppolo, and now Trent Williams are all, right there. That's 25, 40. That's about 55 million of your salary cap right there. Three guys, So, I just think, and then I've been thinking about this too all season. All Jimmy Garoppolo's been hearing about is he's gone. He's gone. Somebody's coming. Sean's coming here. So-and-so's coming. Can you imagine what? So I think Kyle has either sat him down and said, listen, you're our guy. Don't believe all this. And I'm not sure I can believe Kyle, but, his confidence has to be rocked a little bit, coming back. All his boys have been pulling for him. Kittle's been saying, Garoppolo will be back. So it'll be interesting to see coming off the injury and how is his confidence. Or it might put a little burr up his ass where he'll get, and rise to that level of quarterback we'd like to see him become.
Yeah, this is definitely a make or break kind of year for Jimmy.
Right, because
if he gets the starting gig. And he has no excuses. He has the line, he has the weapons, he has everything he needs. Now is it just, can he get through the progressions? Can he make the reads that he's supposed to make at the times he's supposed to make and make those big throws when he needs to make them? And that's kind of what scares me with Jimmy Garoppolo, is because as Shu said, he hears all the chatter. I couldn't imagine having to do my job day in and day out and having all these people like myself criticizing and critiquing me. I know it's got to get to you. So that's tough. It's put up or shut up time for Jimmy. And now he has to do it in this stressful arena with all these chirping birds in his ear all day.
But sometimes that brings it out of you, though. It's like, oh, really? Watch this. That was my whole career. Hey, you can't do this. You're too small. You're too white. You're too slow. Oh, okay. Watch this.
Wait a minute. You're too white? Wait a minute. What? Wait.
Well, my position, they only kept one per team. So,
okay.
It was an issue. So,
okay. All right. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to turn the page. We got a few minutes left here. I want to take a talk about Golden State. And reason why is because trade deadline's coming. Everybody's been talking about whether or not if the Warriors are going to keep Oubre or if they're going to trade him. Shu asked me before the show, he said, what do? Do you move him or do you keep him? Personally, myself, I believe you keep Oubre. And the reason why you keep him is because, first and foremost, I love Oubre's game. I really do. And I'll tell you something, he'd hate me to be his coach because I would tell him, don't you ever take an outside shot. You go to the hole all night. I don't care. Look, all night. He's either going to do one or two things, okay? He's either going to jam it in your face, okay? Or he's going to draw the foul. Okay, I'd have him do that all night. That's all I would do. Oh boy, I will say this much. Matt's not gonna like me when I say this.
I know where you're going, bro.
I honestly believe the trade piece is gonna be Wiggins. I really do, because Wiggins. The problem with Wiggins is that he's just not consistent. Now he put up a 40-game night the other night, 40-point night, beautiful. And I'm thinking, okay, great. Now, can you just keep it at 23, 25 a night? Then guess what? We stop speculating with you. Because right now, to me, he's wind up Wiggins. Okay? That little wind up dog used to have? You wind it up, you sit down there, it's great, it's all active. And all of a sudden, the last click, and now he's not doing nothing, okay? So that's my estimate of it. And I really like Jordan Poole coming from the G League. He's put up, great numbers, and I hope he can consistently do this. What are your thoughts, guys?
Well, go ahead, man. I'll jump in first of all because you went at my man Wiggins again, and we're starting to develop a trend of where you do this, where you go after Wiggins, and I don't know. When you say consistent, I don't know how much more consistent you want him to be. He's gonna be a 20-point shooter. A 20-point a game player, roughly in that range, and he's gonna, he's not gonna shoot a really high field goal percentage. But what he is doing that he did not do in Minnesota is he is locking down people defensively. I keep saying it over and over again. And so has Kelly Oubre. The defense has been there. I don't see Andrew Wiggins as really being a trading piece because I do know he's locked up contract-wise for a little longer. And Kelly Oubre is not. He'll be a free agent next year. And so if the Warriors do keep him, then they have to worry about, are they going to be able to sign him moving forward? When you can actually use him as a trading piece, maybe go after a player like Aaron Gordon in Orlando, who just said that he wanted to be traded.
I don't understand. Why does everybody like Aaron Gordon so much?
Well, he's a player.
He is a player, and he's a big body that you could kind of put at the forward position, where if you look at the Warriors, they are somewhat lacking. I mean, you got Draymond Green in that position, but he's not a playmaker. He's a distributor and a playmaker. He's not a scorer. And with a guy like Aaron Gordon, it does kind of give you the option. But there's other guys out there.
Yeah, there is other guys out there.
Not to mention the Warriors do have the $9 million exemption if they do pick up a player. So
yeah, I think
a lot of things in their favor.
Yeah, I think like Richard said, you're not going anywhere deep in the playoffs this year anyway. So continue to develop players. Wiggins on things sometimes he just seems disinterested. You know, a lot of people question his heart and but he plays both ends of the court, so I like his game that way. But I might trade Draymond. You're paying that guy $25 million a year to basically be a coach.
I'm not really on
that. And that's why he wanted KD out of here, because if KD would have stayed, they wouldn't have given Draymond $100 million.
That's true.
So he can't score anymore. He can still defend and he can distribute. But if Kerr was, I think, a little better coach and not have to have Draymond doing it on the court, maybe you think about it. But his best days are, behind him, as a player. So, and I've talked about this with you, Richard, over the years. He just has been guarding such bigger men. His legs are gone. He could shoot threes early in his career. Now he can't even get it close to the basket. So, he's a guy that's really not going to give you a ton in the next couple of years. So if somebody were to offer, I might think about it. So
who do you like as far as replacement then? Because
that's the problem. They're lacking at the 4 and the 5. Wiseman's going to be a player.
So why trade him?
Wiseman's going to be a player. Looney's always hurt. So. Yeah. And it's it's a point guard league now. A lot of people say you're drafting a 7-footer in a point guard league. And then maybe Wiseman and Oubre could do a lot of pick and roll because that's what Oubre is so good at. But you don't see that instigated by Kerr. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I don't think they do anything, but that would be something that would kind of stir things up. We'll just say that. So every now and then you got to do something like that to let everybody know that everybody here is expendable, except maybe Steph Curry. So we'll see. I don't think they do anything now.
Let me ask you, what do you think about bringing in Aldridge and making him the 4? If you are going to get rid of Draymond.
Well, he can still score. He's just a shooter though, but he can still score. But like I said, I don't think they're going deep this year, So I would spend more time developing players, which has been a problem with the Warriors over the years, because, they had their start, they had Clay, Dre, Steph, and KD, and then all those veteran players, Livingston, Barboza, Iguodala. You didn't have to teach or develop those guys, and they all knew their role. Well, when you got this young team like this, you're seeing the growing pains, and you got to start developing players because Steph's window's closing, Clay's window's closing. All those windows are closing, and it goes fast. So we'll see.
Well, there is that age-old adage, and that is no one's more undefeated than Father Time. So, but you think about, Kerr was actually interviewed today, and he had talked about that. He was saying that, with the trade deadline coming up and everything, he was saying that, they kind of want to focus more on, developing the players they have in house. And I thought that was very big on his end because he never really came out and admitted that to anyone. And for him to admit that, I thought, okay, you know what? That's showing something, that you had stated earlier when we had talked about it, is that Kerr needs to start showing some maturity as a coach. But I also think on the other end of the spectrum, you have to consider, what it's going to look like. And I think if you do develop these players, okay, where does everybody fit in? Because you got a Jordan Poole who is all of a sudden starting to become consistent. Wiseman is still developing, okay? If Oubre comes back next year, you got about maybe 2-3 seasons before the main guys, they're going to be sitting down. And when they do, where are these other pieces fit? How are you going to, migrate them into, the juggernaut that you've had for the last 5 years until now? because these guys coming up right now, they're not Clay, they're not Dre, they're not Steph Curry, they're not KD. Okay, and these are guys that have been taking on the chin every time they come up. They come up a little bit. What happens? They go back down to G League because they can't handle it. So I'm just trying to figure out where Curry's mind is at as far as developing. If he wants to develop, okay, great, but develop him into what?
Well, I think you are seeing a little bit of that transition and mindset from the Warriors. I mean, you're starting to see Nico Mannion get a lot of minutes, especially with Steph Curry being out with the
they need a backup point guard.
Right. And you're seeing Jordan Poole get run. We're not seeing Wiseman because he's been out. He'll be out for 7 days. Pascal's been out. He'll be out for 7 days. So he hasn't been getting the minutes that he really needs to develop. But you are kind of seeing Steve Kerr kind of transition a little bit. And I think injuries have kind of forced the hand. And then just kind of, where the games fall from night to night, who's going to be available, who's kind of banged up, who's not. And you're kind of going to go through this year. And I think Steve's just going to try and get through the year, try to get as high as they can get. I mean, I could see them falling somewhere 6, 7, 8 seed and getting into the playoffs, but not making a ton of noise. But I do, with doing that, they can develop their young players. And I think you are starting to see that a little more. I mean, look, Smiley got us, your boy, Richard Smiley got to start the other night, ahead of JTA.
Actually, I read somewhere yesterday that Kerr enjoyed last season more than he did KD's last season.
He did say that. He did say that.
There was a little hint of, underlying a lot of issues in that locker room. KD would just take over the game, and, Steph and Clay were just sitting there like you've never seen him before. Kerr didn't have any control over him, so it was kind of interesting to see that, so we'll see what happens, but I'd like to see the development of these players, and it's been kind of fun to watch these guys grow up.
Yeah, and we know that we had the situation take place recently with the Lakers. LeBron James goes down with an injury. I don't know why I can't think of
high ankle sprain, and then LaMelo Ball also injured.
Right. And also Davis is out too. And I think what's happening is, now there's scuttlebutt in the news going around saying that they now believe that the Brooklyn Nets have a better chance this year of winning the title than the Lakers do, which I don't believe that, because at the end of the day, guys, it's LeBron James and the Lakers. Let's keep it real. Okay. If he comes back, he'll be out probably 3 weeks, maybe a month. It's really a matter of what the Lakers can do when he's out. But at the end of the day, you're talking about a franchise that knows how to win titles. And you're talking about a man he's like a Tom Brady, man. Once you put the ball in his hands, he does what he does. I want to see that matchup, because that would be a nice matchup. You got Lakers versus Brooklyn for the title. That'd be a good matchup.
It'll be interesting with these injuries, though, to him and
Anthony Davis has been out for 7 to 14 days too.
So all of a sudden, Lakers could fall down the ladder, and that'll be interesting. In terms of seeding when they get to the playoffs. So, and for the MVP, Luka Doncic, I think down in Dallas, to me, he's just doing amazing things. But it's hard to give it beside somebody LeBron. But
I don't know.
That'll be interesting too.
I don't know. I think your boy Jokic should probably get it this year. Joker, he's putting up some great numbers.
Be interesting.
Yeah, he's putting up some great numbers. We got about 2 minutes before we say goodnight. Shiru, first of all, I'm gonna tell you again, man. Pleasure having you, man. This is great. This is good. I'm telling you, if it was up to me, man, we might have to do this every night, man. We have to. Okay.
I'm around, so
yeah. So
more so during the football season, though.
Okay.
I know Matt's looking forward to the A's getting started here, so they're going to be a lot more fun to watch than the Giants. I'll say that.
Like your tongue. You're talking to a Giants fan, okay?
You need to wear that Giants hat when he's got his A's hat, right, man?
Right. Listen, I'm a huge Giants fan. I got it up here, but I'm no dummy. I see the writing on the wall. The A's are probably going to have a better season than the Giants. The Giants it's going to be tough. So, not that I'm jumping bandwagon from the Giants to the A's. Don't get me wrong.
I'm just kind of close. Oh no.
I'm just supporting the Bay Area team that's got the best squad this year.
Yeah.
Well, and his little league team is the A's, so that's his managerial hat.
Yeah, there you go.
But
all right.
Yeah, I always thought you were either a Giants or an A's fan. You couldn't be both. Right?
You can't. But back in the day, I had the hat, the split hat.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I could go both ways. That's a huge no-no right now.
But that's the thing. If you had the hat with the split of the Raiders and the Niners, that got people upset. I remember that one. Okay, guys. First of all, Shu, Thank you very much for being with
Hey,
us.
good to see you guys again.
Okay, and he is Matt, none the wiser wise. I am Richard the Razor Ewing. This is GameFace. You want to come over and put your feet up and hang out with us? You can. You can even have a drink, but if you do, you better have your GameFace on, son.